So for my final verdict, giving a little bit of information about the amount of work it took to get this bike to perform versus the CF Moto working pretty good straight out of the box. I do want to say that we spent probably about 1,500 US in aftermarket parts to get this bike to work. It's probably about 1,500-ish less than the CF Moto is for retail, so you end up kind of being in that same sort of position pricing-wise. Although I would say that once you spend the money on this bike, it is a more capable bike. It's more playful. You would take this more up billy goating sort of a trails than what you're probably going to take the CF Moto.
All right, so we're going to do something very, very scientific here. We're going to do a lap recording. He's going to be ripping down a hill and back up the hill.
As fast as I can go on both bikes. See which one's faster.
Trust the science.
Trust the science,
All
baby.
Right, vámonos. Let's go. Whoa. Hang on, don't go. All right, come on, Sam. Because we're rednecks, we're starting from the pile of fresh cap here in the country. So timer is starting in 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1, go!
Oh yeah, baby, let's go, let's go. These downhill turns, let me tell you, and these G-outs, it's hard on these big bikes. I really hope no one's coming the other way. I find sometimes on these downhill turns, you're almost better off coming into them, whoa, a little slower, so you don't end up going off track. Woo! Got a little bit of trees, very good. I think I probably blew the shock up on that one. Woo! She's loose. Probably hard to tell on the camera, but this is a hill. It's not that steep, but the loose gravel definitely makes it hard to get that stopping power from time to time. Let's go, baby. Uphill, uphill. A little bit of air. Sometimes on these hills, on these slower, lower displacement bikes, I try to select a lower gear, because if you get into that bottom end, sometimes it can be hard to get it out of the bottom end. She's bucking, but we're holding on to her. Stabbing the clutch a bit, trying to get it to come out of that bottom end. Oh yeah. That was a good bottom out. Using all of the suspension. It's pretty fast. Couple little bobbles. 4 minutes. Jeez Louise. Oh, buddy.
You can do better on the KTM.
Let's see. It's only one way to find out.
All right, here we go.
Started in second on that bike, on this bike, and I don't know if I would do that again. First gear probably had a little bit more pull. I was on the clutch for quite a while on that start. Oh baby. We haven't figured out how to turn the front wheels ABS off, and I can tell you right now, I would be, oh, there's that stalling issue. I don't know if we lost that much time, but anyway, getting back to what I was saying, I would be able to stop a lot faster with that front ABS turned off. If anybody knows how to do that, and that suspension hit hard, we'd love to know how to turn that ABS off. Oh baby, that's sketch. This bike feels a lot more nimble. Sometimes it helps. Sometimes it makes it feel very skatey. I don't know for sure, but kind of feels like the wheelbase is shorter, so it steps out a little bit easier. I don't want to blow off the trail on these downhills. Oh, lost a little bit there. Woo! That hit hard. Really playing with the clutch to get it out of that bottom end. Oh, that's where that CF does feel pretty nice because it doesn't get bopped around as much sometimes. I'm curious.
I suck at the timer thing, but we can split this. But we know where the CF Moto timing ended. It was 3 minutes and 55 seconds or something like that. Congratulations.
KTM wins.
KTM.
Be tricky to see going into the sun. My problem is I'm going to go ahead and just guess that second gear is going to be too tall. First gear is going to be too short. Well, if we hit it with some good speed in second. So soft. And for any of the viewers at home, it's good for you guys to know that we do have the same tires on this CF 450 as we do on the KTM 390, so that's not the problem. Obviously there's quite a bit more weight here, and now that we've done the mods to the KTM ECU, I dare say that that bike has more power. We have the CF Moto IBEX or MT450 versus the KTM 390 Adventure R. Both very hot bikes, both very fresh to the market. Both came out this year. Similar categories, although they are very close in displacement. There's about 10 kilos or 22 pounds of difference between the two bikes. They actually handle quite different, and they have different positives and negatives about each one. So today we're here to compare. So we didn't want to leave these bikes stock because, let's be honest, out of the box, they are a little bit underwhelming, especially the KTM. So we went ahead and modified them because that's what we do here at Outback Motortek. We want things to work well. So quickly, just to fire off some of the upgrades that we've done to the actual performance of these bikes. We're not going to go into extreme detail on tires and suspension and that sort of stuff. We have other videos on the channel you can check out for that. But very quickly, probably the most important upgrade on the KTM 390 Adventure R for us was the Powertronic ECU and fueling mapping system. That really woke the bike up because out of the box, I'm not gonna lie, it felt like the bike was broken. It was constantly stalling. The power delivery was very, very delayed. It just honestly felt like a bike that you couldn't really enjoy. So for the CF Moto IBEX or MT450, the upgrades that we've done was the Yoshimura exhaust really opened up the power of this bike. We went for a K&N air filter to let it breathe a little bit better. We did do quite a bit to the suspension. Other than that, this bike doesn't have very many other changes. So here we are, we're comparing the two bikes and giving my final verdict. Realistically, even though they are quite close in engine displacement and weight, I honestly think that each bike has its own purpose in different areas. So if I was going to be doing a little bit more of a longer adventure, a bit more logging roads or even highways, I think this would be a little bit more of a comfortable bike than the smaller 390. It's also got a bigger fuel tank, although the fuel economy on the 390 is supposed to be quite good as well. What I would say is with that extra weight, it's not always a bad thing. So if you're riding a little bit more flowy, even things where it's a little bit looser, having that extra weight can actually make the bike feel a little bit more planted and keep it a little bit more stable, pushing through and using that energy and the weight there to kind of hold your line. Now that being said, the 390, it's more nimble. It feels like it's more of a shorter machine here. So it's a lot more playful now. It wants to step out sideways. It's not quite as planted in the loose and more technical stuff, but you can actually use that to your advantage to use one rock to bounce to the other side of the trail. So this bike is definitely more of a, if I was going to spend more time on single track or the more technical terrain, I think I would take this bike now. One thing I would say is the power delivery still doesn't quite feel connected to my wrist. So kind of sometimes anticipating where that power is going to come in, which has caught me off guard a couple times. But all in all, this bike is very, very playful. It actually has torque now, so you can lift the front wheel a lot easier than you can on the IBEX. And it just feels more like a playful motorcycle that you can go and rip and have some serious fun on. Although I don't know if I would want to go ride this thing to Tuk and back. So for my final verdict, giving a little bit of information about the amount of work it took to get this bike to perform versus the CF Moto working pretty good straight out of the box. I do want to say that we spent probably about $1,500 US in aftermarket parts to get this bike to work. It's probably about $1,500-ish less than the CF Moto is for retail. So you end up kind of being in that same sort of position pricing wise. Although I would say that once you spend the money on this bike, it is a more capable bike. It's more playful. You would take this more up billy goating sort of a trails than what you're probably going to take the CF Moto. So it really depends if what you're looking for. If you want to be touring, cruising logging roads, gravel roads, a little bit of highway, probably the CF is a bit more of a comfortable bike. If you want to get a little more gnarly and you don't mind playing around, buying some aftermarket parts to get your machine to work properly, then you probably want to go with the KTM. As for me, this is going to shock a lot of you, I would probably go with the KTM, because once you get that thing modified, it does really rip, and I think it's only going to get better as there's more parts available for this bike. I think we can get that throttle response a little bit more accurate, and to put some suspension into this thing, I think it would be a really fun bike. So there you go to all the YouTube haters. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video.
You meant to say
haters.
YouTube lovers.
YouTube lovers, you guys love us. We're just trying to be real, you know, we're not here to sugarcoat anything. I think it's a little disappointing that some factories put the bikes out the way they do, but that being said, maybe there's some emissions legalities that I'm not aware of.
And it leaves us with more opportunities to shine.
Exactly, and we can get you guys all riled up by saying this bike doesn't work perform properly.